world where legends rise and fall with every punch. Where the roar of the crowd fades, but the stories live on. This is where those stories are told. This is Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From the blood, the sweat, and the glory, to the controversies, comebacks, and knockouts, we go behind the ring, no fluff, no hype, and definitely no BS. Just the truth behind the fight game. And we've been doing it for over 2 decades. A podcast pioneer, now a Hall of Famer.
Great. What's that ego gonna be like?
And next, the comeback kid.
Wait, isn't he like 90 or something?
Shut up, he'll hear you. The reigning, defending, undisputed, heavyweight champion of boxing broadcasting. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. And it's on now.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by, you guessed it, my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book. I'm talking right now while you're watching or listening to this show, whenever that may be. Just go to Amazon. That's all. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Classic Boats. If you're looking for a high-end boat, new, used, custom-built, just visit classicboats.co. Hope everybody's okay. Last week was a kind of a last-minute issue that we had, so I apologize for not being here, but we're back. We're back. And today's show, we got some great stuff coming up. First, I'm going to get you updated on the heavyweight division, what's going on with that, the latest boxing news and rumors. I'll also be breaking down and predicting 2 big title fights scheduled for this weekend. Abdullah Mason going up against Albert Bell for Mason's World lightweight title. And Bruce Shoo Carrington is going up against Rene Palacios. And that's for Carrington's featherweight strap. I got some Zuffa boxing news. You know, I love talking about that and much more. But first, let's talk about the fights that took place this past weekend. First and foremost, Boots Ennis going up against Alexander Zayas. As you guys know, I predicted Zayas to win this fight, and I was wrong. Boots looked pretty good in this fight. However, I do see some flaws. I will say this. I thought that Boots definitely looked the same in terms of his style and his hand speed, how he's, fought other opponents that I was critical of by saying, well, you're going to look good. Basically paraphrasing of what I said, you're going to look good if you're fighting lesser opposition, which he had been. I can't say that about Zayas. Zayas was not a lesser opposition. He was a unified champion going into this fight. I thought Zayas was bigger and stronger, and I was wrong. He was bigger. Maybe he was stronger, but he didn't win the fight. Boots did, and he won it in great fashion to improve to 36-0 with 32 of his wins coming by knockout. Zayas lost for the first time in his career. He's now 23-1 with 13 knockouts. He won by stoppage. And there was a lot of time left when Zayas got dropped, but it was finally waved off at 1 minute and 49 seconds of the 7th round. Zayas had been down a couple of times in this fight, and Boots almost went down. My almost doesn't count, right? But let me tell you, here's my thought on the fight, and I don't want to be critical. I don't want to take anything away from Boots because I think that he's in this division right now, and there are some good fights. They're talking about Sebastian Fundora. And they're saying, oh, Boots will have no problem with him. No, that's wrong. See, the problem with fighting him for anybody is going to be the height and reach advantage that Fundora has. And as Fundora has been moving on in his career. As you know, he's unfortunately, since he's been champion, he's actually gotten better. The reason why I say unfortunate is because my opinion is that fighters should be at their peak by the time they get a shot at a title and not learn the fight game while you're a champion. But in Fundora's case, he's clearly learned how to use his height and reach advantage. And because of that, any fighter, including Boots, is going to have a hard time getting in there and landing anything substantial. Remember, Boots Ennis is an accumulation fighter. He's got his hand speed. He likes to land several punches and catch you with a power shot that you don't see coming. My opinion about the Zayas and what I think you're going to see in the future with Boots Ennis is I think that you're going to see him get stopped. The reason is because Zayas rocked him. I don't know. To be honest with you, I give Boots a lot of credit for staying on his feet. But Zayas rocked him bad. He was in some serious trouble. How he managed to survive, I don't know. I mean, Zayas just couldn't land. All he had to do was land one more solid shot, and Boots goes down. Would it have changed the outcome of the fight? I don't know, and probably not. But what it shows me is the vulnerability and the suspect chin that I believe that Boots may possess. We won't know until time goes on. But if he fights a guy like Fundora, he's going to get his chin tested, and he's not going to be able to do much. So we'll see what happens with him. But right now he's a unified WBO, WBA junior middleweight or super welterweight world champion. So I thought that his performance was good. You got to give him credit. For people that wasn't sold on him, like myself, I give him credit. So we'll see how he moves on from here. The fighter I told you guys to keep an eye on, he was on this card, was Ben Whitaker. He's the Brit light heavyweight. He fought Popeye Rivera, Richard Rivera, a fighter who I've seen live, and he's a fan favorite. But Whitaker showed how good he was. And Popeye, listen, Popeye was a ranked fighter. But, I mean, world class, I don't know, no disrespect to Popeye, but Whitaker is world class. And his hand speed and power was on display. And some of his antics, he usually is a lot more animated fighting in England. I think he was tamed down a little bit. And plus, I told you about what he said that has stuck with him and kind of has changed his attitude really only during his last two fights. And that was Terrence Crawford telling him, to basically cool it and to focus on his punches. And I've seen a change. So congratulations to Ben Whitaker. At 27 seconds of round two, Popeye went down and then thought it was not a legit knockdown, and then he was out. He was basically counted out. They're saying it was waved off at 27 seconds, but he was having a hard time getting up. Whitaker improves to 12-0 with 9 knockouts. Popeye drops to 27-3 with 20 knockouts, and maybe he should have ate some more spinach. Hey, my man Jessim in the chat room is telling me Fundora's promoter saying Fundora will fight his mandatory next. Yeah. That makes sense because, look, I said that I thought that Boots would have some trouble against Fundora, but Sampson is a smart manager / promoter, and that's his guy. So why not get another fight? It's a mandatory. It should be an easy fight. I shouldn't say easy, but it should be a very winnable fight for Sebastian Fundora. Take the money, set up a big fight, as Bob Arum would say, marinate it a little bit. Maybe we see that fight at the end of the year. Fundora gets his mandatory out of the way quickly. If not, you'll see it early next year. You're going to see that fight. You're going to see it because Boots at this point, theoretically, he made his debut at junior middleweight, even though he had fought at that weight class one other time, I believe, if I recall correctly. He's a two belt holder. So, I mean, if you boots in us, what's your goal, to unify the belts, you would think, right? Or go to Zuffa boxing. Oh, that's right. He's with Hearn. But I'll get to that in a minute. But, I think the fight will happen. And I think Sampson is a smart promoter. So don't worry about that. Also, I hate to say it. Look, I knew it. I predicted it. I felt kind of bad. But Bryce Mills, he's a Syracuse fighter, draws a huge crowd when he fights locally. I say locally at the Turning Stone. But he stepped in the ring with Mr. Vargas, the son of his father. I loved his father, Fernando Vargas, and didn't work out too well for Bryce Mills. I knew it was going to happen. Bryce Mills is a decent fighter, not ready for the stage against Vargas. Vargas showed that he was way more than he could handle, than Mills could handle. At the end of the day, 1 minute and 17 seconds of the fourth round, Mills is ultimately waved off. Vargas improves to 18-0 with 15 knockouts, and Mills loses for the second time in his career, 22 wins, 2 losses, and 9 knockouts. Listen, this isn't the end for Bryce Mills. I do disagree with his management. He had an opportunity to fight on the Turning Stone card for Hall of Fame weekend under Christy Martin's promotional company, and because he had already made the arrangements, they turned it down. It turned out to be the wrong move. Russell Peltz is the manager of Bryce Mills, and he was quoted as saying, "Well, we're getting $25,000 to fight at Madison Square Garden against Vargas." And obviously the smaller show at the Turning Stone couldn't afford that paycheck. But now you look at the situation now, and Bryce Mills will be going back to small town USA to fight, and it's going to take him a little while longer to build up to demand any kind of money. Or the way the business of boxing works, you might see him in even a bigger fight where they're going to throw a boatload of cash at him that he has no chance of winning. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Some other results I wanted to talk about. Zuffa Boxing held their Zuffa Boxing 8. It was in Las Vegas this past Sunday. And the main event was actually a rematch between these two guys, Jose Venezuela against Edwin Dos Los Santos. It was a pretty good fight while it lasted. It ended at 2 minutes and 5 seconds of the second round. Jose Valenzuela wins the fight. And then it was announced actually today, I believe, either today or yesterday, that Team De Los Santos is appealing the decision. And it's an interesting reason. What I said to you guys just a moment ago is that this was a rematch. Venezuela and De Los Santos had fought before. So, they were billing it as a grudge match, a rematch. They both wanted it really bad. Well, anyway, his manager, De Los Santos manager, his name is Adrian Clark, and he says, and I quote, "Rules are rules. It doesn't matter where the shot landed or how hard it was. When a fighter is on a knee or down." If you recall, they were complaining that it was a hit behind the head. All right. And, he went down. He was complaining. He got up. And then he was, really knocked out and really knocked down and was flobbering trying to get up. So this is in response to that. He's saying rules. It doesn't matter where the shot landed or how hard it was. When a fighter is on a knee or is down, it's illegal to hit him. Edwin was robbed of the opportunity to recover from the blatantly illegal shot. It was my job to make this appeal. The punch that knocked him down was a good shot by Venezuela. However, if De Los Santos was out, the referee would have immediately waived the count and called the fight. Everyone watching that fight knows that it was a foul. My petition is based around the protection of the fighters. If the commission for the state that lands a majority of the big fight says that an illegal shot has no bearing on the outcome of a fight, well, that's a problem for our sport. But here's the interesting part. That's just a legal jargon that he was writing to, issue the complaint. But this is the part that I didn't realize. And this blew over my head. He says that he also pointed out that when De Los Santos and Venezuela first met back in 2022, De Los Santos was penalized for hitting Venezuela while he was down. And he says, and I quote, a situation similar to this occurred in their first fight. Edwin landed a punch after Venezuela was through the ropes. The difference is that foul was recognized. It was called, and Edwin was deducted a point, and Venezuela had time to recover. And his point is his guy didn't this time. It's going to be interesting to see what the outcome. But speaking of outcome, look, Zuffa boxing. Are we at least admitting, even the biggest doubters out there that don't believe me and don't agree with me about how I feel Zuffa boxing is going to be the premier boxing go-to. I don't know if I want to say promoter, league, I don't know. But this card was a fantastic card. Yes, the main event ended in 2 rounds, but it was exciting. Every one of these fights were exciting. Omar Trinidad defeated Herwin Anakayas. It was a unanimous decision on that one. How about the Kane Sandoval Brandon Lee fight? What a great fight that was. Ended in a majority decision in Sandoval's favor. Some great preliminary fights. Listen, Zuffa's doing it. My only complaint with Zuffa, like I've said before, is they have it on Sundays, and they're not listening to old Billy C, that's for sure. But like I told everybody, Zuffa boxing is quietly coming to the top, and the fighters are going to start going to them, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But let's talk about well, speaking of Zuffa boxing, I do believe, and I'll circle back, but I do believe that Alexander Usyk will fight his last fight, or maybe his last 2, under the Zuffa banner, and I'm predicting that he will fight for the Zuffa world title, the Zuffa heavyweight world title. This is what I'm predicting, and think about it. Okay, he vacated all his titles. Before he fought Rico Verhoeven, he gave up his WBO title, right? And then Fabio Wardley was the guy who was the interim champion, so he becomes elevated, and he steps in the ring with his fighter, Daniel Dubois, and Daniel Dubois pummels him. Okay, it was a great fight, but I mean pummeling based physically. I mean, his face looked like, the cheeseburger I ate recently. But, it was a good fight. It was a brutal fight. So that's where that belt went. Well, since then, now he's given up the other belts. He says he's given up the belts. And the way it was framed was Usyk says, I'm giving up the belts to give the young fighters a chance to fight for a world title. Now, I have some thoughts on that. If he truly means that, and if that was a statement that truly came out of his mouth, or if it was something that was lost in translation, the truth of the matter is that's kind of bullshit. Because if you're going to fight as a pro, even as an amateur, the What Next kid, my man Travis, is in the chat room right now. And he's an amateur fighter, and I'm sure he would even admit that, you're fighting to win championships, right? You're fighting to win In his case, he's still an amateur, so he wants to win these tournaments, right? So I mean, that's what you're in it for. That's what the competition is, right? So if at the end of the day, you get your trophy, whatever it is, in this case, world title belts, that's not something you just piss away, unless here's the other side of it, okay? And this is what I keep saying, and this is why I keep saying that Zuffa is gonna be the place, unless your value is high enough where you don't need no stinking belts. Okay, now think about that. Fighters reach a certain plateau financially, and the argument for all these belts are the simple fact that they make more money. The fighters get to make more money. I've had managers and promoters and trainers that tell me this. I read between the lines and I say to myself, well, that's how they're making their living. The more money the fighter gets, the more they get. And I'm not so sure that that's the case anyway, especially when you're paying for the belts. You're paying to fight for their titles. Well, when you get to a certain point, although I never was a fan, Floyd Mayweather is a good example, although that's right. All his fights that he said that he was fighting, they were all postponed or canceled so far. But, he didn't need a championship belt when he was, actually fighting actively. He didn't need a championship belt to sell tickets or sell pay-per-views. Manny Pacquiao doesn't need a belt. You look at some of these fighters, you think Mike Tyson needs a belt to sell tickets or any of these exciting fighters, So by him giving up the titles, to me, it doesn't make sense from I'm the best in my division. It could make sense saying I don't need the stinking titles because I'll sell out whoever I fight, wherever I fight, and I'll make my money. I don't need the belts to make my money, and I don't want to pay any sanctioning fees. Or the third reason is what I think is going to happen, that he gave up his belts because he knew that it would end in a stripping situation by the sanctioning bodies. They would strip him of the belts if he decided to go fight for a Zuffa belt. We saw it happen. We saw the IBF do it to Jay Alpatea, and we saw the WBC do it. Who did they do it to? No, I'm sorry. The WBC, they stripped Terrence Crawford because he didn't pay the sanctioning fee, and then Shakur Stevens got it. And that's why I believe that all these fighters are going to go to Zuffa. But anyway, so wouldn't it make sense if he gives up his titles and then he goes and he fights on a Zuffa card? And did you hear the rumor that he's thinking of potentially fighting the UFC? I don't follow UFC, but I think John Jones, that he's thinking of fighting him. So, I mean, if he fights a UFC fighter, isn't it? I mean, that's a layup that it's going to be through Zuffa. I mean, right? The company owns it, and think of the money. Think of the money that, Usyk can make. Talk about a cash out fight. Listen, you applaud the guy on one hand because of the way it was framed, but I just told you the three options, in my opinion. A, he's such a nice guy that he wants to give all the young fighters a chance to win the belts, and give the sanctioning bodies a chance to, have fights that they can make some money on, without splitting it with each other. When they do a unification fight, the sanctioning fees are broken up a little differently from what I understand. So that's number one. You think he did that? Number two, he says, I don't need belts anymore. I'm a big enough draw. I don't need the belts. So I'm going to fight without them. Plus, I don't want to give up my money to the sanctioning fees. So here, take the belts. I don't need them. Or three, let's give up the belts so that we can go and fight for the Zuffa World Heavyweight title, and then maybe he walks away from the sport. That's my prediction. That's what I think he's going to do. So you guys can mark it down. See, this is the problem. All these things that I've filled everyone in over the years, over the last 24 years, I never remember what show. And, to go back through, over 2,800 shows, sorry, man, I can't do it. And speaking of Zuffa Boxing, they got a real good card July 26th at Madison Square Garden. Now, listen, I want to tell you, last time I went to do the show, John Scully was supposed to be on, and he was ready, willing, and able, and I screwed up. I didn't send him the link that he needed to join me on air. So today or yesterday, I said, John, I asked him to come on the show, and I actually promoted that he was coming on the show. And he told me, and I screwed up again. He told me that after he said he could, he realized that he had a prior engagement. So he told me that, and I said, "Oh, no problem." And what do? I promote that he's coming on today, so he won't be on today. But I will tell you, we are his man, which I wanted to talk to him about. Will be fighting at Madison Square Garden on July 26th when he takes on Edgar Berlanga and Stephen Butler. That's the main event on a Zuffa boxing card. So that's, I want to get his thoughts on that. Plus, there's a middleweight, Jayla Hackett is going to be taking on Sergey Deverenchenko in a middleweight fight as well. So talk about Zuffa Boxing putting on quality fights. And don't forget, they have the Zuffa Boxing 10 after this one. It's going to be on August 8th. And the main event, Sam Hickey against Brad Axe, that's going to be taking place in Dublin. So if you're still thinking that Zuffa Boxing isn't doing this, they're not just shooting from the hip. There's a plan that Dana White and Zuffa Boxing are following, and it's working. Hey, another thing I noticed is that the arena that the fights were in, the Venezuela De Los Santos fight, was pretty full. So that means they're selling tickets too. So not only do they got the deal on Paramount, not only are they putting together, and people are starting to pick up on the fact that they may not know all these guys, but they're certainly entertaining fights. And on this on that card from Sunday, one of the fighters that were matched that had lost on a previous show was on this card, fought in another tough fight, and came out on top. So really, what did the loss do for him? Nothing. But anyway, jumping back to the heavyweight division, the WBC had a heavyweight. The other rumor, by the way, just getting back to Usyk and Zuffa. So Jones was one. The other rumor was Deontay Wilder. So he's clearly looking for another easier fight. Rico Van Hooven wants a rematch. There's some people that want to see a rematch. I don't. I'd rather see him fight a legitimate heavyweight. Somebody, not the two guys that are being mentioned. If he does do Zuffa, I think I'd like to see him fight somebody else, somebody more substantial. And he doesn't have to. He doesn't have anything left to prove. But this kind of this exit that he's taken, if it indeed is an exit, is kind of not. It's so unlike Usyk. You know what I'm saying? Usyk has overachieved. He's done things outside the box for his whole career. And then the fight against Vico Van Hooven, which, he struggled. Let's be real. He struggled. He might have taken him too lightly. Whatever the case is, to come back and fight another easier fight, or, I don't know. But anyway, the WBC has recognized, my man John is saying he's fishing. He's doing a fishing trip in Marathon Key in September. The Mighty Mustache versus the Sharks. You're damn right. You better bring me there. I mean, or I'll go there. But as long as you're safe this time, John, safe. You almost killed me and my son-in-law. But anyway, the WBC had an interim champion in AJ KBL. And this is a guy that I think KBL is aside from Usyk, is the best heavyweight out there. And I would have loved to have seen Usyk fight him, but I could see why he doesn't want to. But he's recognized now as the WBC champion. He probably is thinking the way Fabio Wardley did, that it's always better to win a world title inside the ring. So we'll see what happens with him, who he's going to fight. I know he was supposed to be scheduled to fight someone, but you watch, this is going to change that, at least I think so. Now, the IBF, I don't know about the WBA, and we know the deal with the WBO, but the IBF, they have, since his title is vacant, they are looking to have, excuse me, Frank Sanchez and Moses Aituma fight. But that's who's going to fight for the title. But Aituma was scheduled to fight Hrgovic on August 29th, and Hrgovic's going to be a pretty good fight for Aituma. It's going to be interesting to see if Aituma somehow gets out of the Hrgovic fight and trains for a fight maybe in September or something. So in other words, not fight the Hrgovic fight and then fight Frank Sanchez in September. I don't know. If I'm Aituma, I know there's a lot of fans out there that think Aituma is the next great thing. I mean, believe it or not, I've seen social media posts where there's people actually putting him as an all-time great already, which, please. But I do believe the Hrgovic fight is a good fight for Aituma. And it won't be an easy fight, but I think Hrgovic, his skill set is good for Aituma. Frank Sanchez does have some hand speed, and although he looked like he was way bigger than he was the last time I saw him fight. Let's just say that I like the fight. Let's see how Aituma comes out with the Hrgovic fight. And if he does, and then they set up the fight against Sanchez, well, then you have to assume that Sanchez isn't going to fight a fight between now and then, and Sanchez is no spring chicken. So maybe it makes sense for Aituma, especially if he does go through Hrgovic like some people think. Not me, but I think he's going to beat Hrgovic, but I don't think it's going to be an easy fight. But if he comes out, with no cuts or something like that, maybe they make this fight towards the end of the year. But we'll see. We'll see. And then for Frank Sanchez not to fight for a whole year, I believe that's in Aituma's favor. And speaking of heavyweights, Tyson Fury was announced that he's fighting July 24th against Moritz Wach. I mean, everybody's saying, even my man John is saying, oh well, he's it's a tune-up fight. For the AJ fight. Well, he already had a tune-up fight. Didn't he just have a tune-up fight? His last fight was a tune-up fight, Tyson Fury. So how many tune-up fights does he need? I mean, what he needs is to run a little. He was a little pudgy. He was a little pudgy around the midsection. But Wach isn't gonna give him much of a challenge. But here's the thing. Let me read a quote that Tyson Fury said about this fight when it was officially announced in Thailand. Plus, they're donating the purses and funds and all this stuff to the cause. But Tyson Fury said, 2026 is a landmark year for me in boxing, and I'm excited to be able to bring this event to Pattaya, a part of the world that's very special to me. We're coming together to put on a great show for the fans while using the opportunity to give back to the local community who have been so good to me every time I've visited. At the same time, I'm fully focused on preparing for a tough opponent and making sure I'm the best version of Tyson Fury going into the fight. It's the start of a huge second half year for me. I'm a stickler. I'm real good at writing contracts, reviewing contracts of any kind. And I'm all about verbiage, okay? And this sentence, I'm going to read it one more time. It's the first sentence. He says, 2026 is a landmark year for me in boxing. I'm excited to be able to bring this event to Pattaya, part of the world that's special to me. You know what I read between the lines with him saying that it's very special for him to bring this to this event, to bring it to Pattaya in Thailand. I believe that Tyson Fury is really starting to focus on promotion, and I think that what you're going to see is you're going to see him end up teaming up with Dana White too. Tyson Fury's kind of a WWE character. He's big, he's funny, he's a goofball. I'm seeing it. Speaking of Dana White, I don't know if you heard the news, but it was pretty shocking to me. I'm talking about Turki Al-Rashid, who, he's got cancer and a brain tumor, right? I had read this comment that he had made, and I didn't understand it until I saw this report. And apparently, he was diagnosed with cancer back in 2015 with several forms that he's been battling. But last year in 2025, a tumor located in his brain was detected. They can't do anything about it. And he made this statement. And, a lot of people wonder about Turki Al-Rashid and, what his role is. I myself said, hey, I think this is a hobby for him. Hopefully he won't, lose interest. And then, what happens to boxing? Because, boxing was leaning on him. Boxing has a tendency to just follow the checkbook. Whoever's got the biggest checkbook, everybody's in line following them. But he said, and I quote, "Before I lose my memory, I have a great hope and desire to organize a big meeting between all the promoters, including Frank Warren, Dana White, Nick Khan, Eddie Hearn, among others." He wants to try, his love for the sport of boxing. He wants to have he wants to try to have everybody play nice. But I find it amazing that he was strong enough mentally to say that I want to do this before I lose my memory, knowing that his brain is going to deteriorate as a result of this tumor. I give the man a lot of credit. He's a brave SOB, and I hope he's successful. And it seems like he may be because apparently Tuesday, Eddie Hearn is going to be part of what Turki Al-Rashid is billing as a peace summit with a collection of promoters. Eddie Hearn is going to be there. Zuffa Boxing is sending someone there. As far as I know, Dana White's not. And there'll be several others taking place. So I'll tell you, if Turki Al-Rashid can pull that off, not only do I think the move that he's doing this, while he's basically dying before our eyes, and he knows it. Anybody, that questions the man's love for the sport is a effing a-hole, because the truth of the matter is I mean, how many people would do that? How many people wouldn't just, start to focus on their health? I mean, isn't that the norm? Isn't that like, innate to do that? So I give the man a lot of credit. And if he pulls that off and gets everyone to somewhat play nice, at least somewhat play nice, I think that'll be his legacy, not the money. So hats off to you, Turkey Al-Rashid. Speaking of things in the boxing news world, last week it was announced that Christian Mbilai and Canelo Alvarez, the fight has been postponed until October. So we'll see what that is. Mbilai said, "I've been waiting for this fight for years. One more month or less won't change anything. My time will come." I find it strange because I thought that it was important for Canelo to fight on September 12th. But I guess since it's going to be in Saudi Arabia, I guess it really doesn't matter. So we'll see what happens with that. And speaking of boxing news, the WBO has ordered the championship fight between their number one world rated contender and the mandatory challenger. Which the number one contender, which is the mandatory challenger, is Keyshawn Davis, and the world champion, WBO world champion in the welterweight division, is Devin Haney. You know what sucks about this fight? Devin Haney, he's the most boring fighter, and the fact that it's a great opportunity for Keyshawn Davis. So let's see what happens, and as the rule says, they got 20 days to make the fight, to agree on the fight. If not, it goes to purse bid, and then we'll see what happens with that. But in any event, all right, we got a couple of fights this weekend I wanted to talk about, and one of them is a WBC World Featherweight Championship fight, and that is Bruce Shushu Carrington going up against Rene Palacios. Bruce Carrington is the WBC World Featherweight Champion. He sits on an undefeated record, 17-0 with 10 knockouts. I've seen a lot of Bruce Carrington as he's from the other side of the pond, and you guys know how much I love the fights over there in the UK. The computer sees him at number 3. Ring Magazine sees him at number 3, and ESPN sees him at number 2. He is a orthodox fighter, 29 years old. Like I said, he's undefeated at 17-0. 5'8", 72-inch reach, very similar to his opponent. His last 3 fights, I think that really were his best fights of his career, his last 3. And by the way, he's fought frequent, these last 3 fights. In March of 2025, he fought Enrique Vivas and stopped him in the 3rd round. In July of 2025, Matthias Helta, he won a 12-round decision against him. And in his last fight, which was in January, Carlos Castro succumbed to a knockout in the 9th round. All 3 of those guys are good fighters. Vivas was 23-3 when he fought him. Hiata was 14-0, and Carlos Castro was 30-3. Just to give you an idea of these guys. And Shushu Carrington is a fun fighter to watch. Now he steps in the ring with Rene Palacios. Listen, Palacios is undefeated, 19-0 with 10 knockouts. He's 25 years old. He's actually 4 years younger than Shushu. The computer ranks him at number 43. The IBO's computer ranks him at number 39. And nobody else ranks him at all. WBC, WBO, IBF, WBA, ESPN, The Ring, none of them. None of them rank him. No notable wins of all of his 19 fights. His best win was really his last fight, took place January 30th of this past year, 10-round split decision over Suleiman Segawa. And that, like I said, took place in January. 19-0, 10 knockouts. Who's going to win this fight? This, to me, it's a layup fight. I don't understand how it could even be a world title defense against Palacios. I know he's been busy. I know he's a young fighter, but I mean, he's nowhere near the skill level of Bruce Carrington, and no sanctioning body or computer ranking system disagrees with me. So except the WBC. I mean, normally when the WBC has a fight like this, and I know they get to have voluntary defenses, but they might slip them up a few, get them in the top 15 at least, But it should not be a competitive fight. So I'm obviously picking Shushu in this one. Now this next fight is an interesting one. It's for the WBO World Lightweight Championship, and the champion is Abdullah Mason. And Abdullah Mason is really a fun fighter to watch. He's been down, remember, but he gets up, and he's an exciting fighter. Now, he's 22 years old. He's got a record of 20-0 with 17 of his wins coming by knockout. At 22 years old, he's going to be 11 years younger than his opponent when I get to him. He's a southpaw. At 5'9", 74-inch reach, they're about the same. The computer looks at him at number 2 in the world. Obviously, the sanctioning bodies aren't going to rank him because he's a WBO champ. ESPN has him at number 4, and the Ring Magazine has him at number 5. He's a legit, top 5 guy. There's no question about it in the world. Forget about the belts. The thing that interests me the most about Mason is, quietly, the guy he fought 4 times last year in 2025. He fought in February, then again in April, then in June, and then in his last fight in November. But I look at his last 3 fights, all against top opposition. Carlos Ornelas, he fought in April of last year. Stopped him in the 6th round. Jeremiah Nakathia, he stopped him in the 5th round in their fight in June of 25. And he also beat Sam Noakes, who went the distance, a 12-round decision in November. Those are in my opinion, those are his best wins, and all against really good opposition. Ornelas was 28-4 when he fought him. Nakathia was 26-4, and Noakes was undefeated at 17-0. Now he steps in the ring with Albert Bell. Albert Bell is a decent fighter, 28-0 with 9 of his wins coming by knockout. He's 33 years old. It's 11 years older. He's an orthodox fighter, and like I said, they're about the same size. He's a little taller at 6 foot and 73-inch reach. The computer sees him at number 5. The IBF has him at number 3. The WBO has him at number 6. But he's not rated in the WBC, the WBA, the Ring Magazine, or ESPN. IBO's computer has him at number 13. So when you look at him, what's his best wins? Well, I think his 3 best wins, he beat Jason Veliz back in 2023. He also beat Jonathan Romero in 2024, and Josek Ruiz he beat in 2025. Those were his best wins. His most recent fight was August of last year against Keith Hunter, who was 16-2. So, how's this fight going to go? Well, Albert Bell really only has a 32% knockout ratio. Like I said, 9 knockouts out of 28 fights. He's not much of a power puncher, which kind of is good for Abdullah Mason because he has a tendency to get caught. Because they're both around the same size, I think it's going to boil down to how Albert Bell can deal with the southpaw. Abdullah Mason has some fast hands. His footwork is decent. He's no Vasily Lomachenko, but it's decent. But I see Abdullah Mason coming out on top in this fight. Is it going to be a layup fight? I think it's going to be interesting for a little bit. But I think Mason's going to come out and win this fight. So that's my pick there for the 4th of July fight cards that we got. Alex says it's a shame about Turkey Al-Rashid. He just rolled out. He said it's a shame about Turkey Al-Rashid. He's been good for boxing. Yeah, he has been good for boxing. It's certainly he's made some good fights, and fighters have made some excellent money with him. So yeah, no, I agree. Lovett says Southpaw fights are always interesting to her. Yeah, well, Southpaw, what amazes me, back in the day when a fighter was learning, see, this is the big difference. And I can't wait. I don't know if you guys, if you watch this show from the very beginning, I displayed a new series we're going to start here. And it's called Billy C's. You've heard of that clown. Billy C's Roundtable. And we've been talking about it for a long time. And the very first one will be Wednesday, same bat time and channel as this show, ironically enough. It's going to be Wednesday, July 15th. And we got a great lineup. I'll give you the people who's going to be on. First and foremost, my man Mike Silver. He's going to be on. He's a historian. He's been on the show. He's an author. You hear me talk about his book all the time, The Arc of Boxing. I loved that book. And he's an expert on the comparisons of fighters from yesteryear to through today. But he's this stat guy, so he's got all the stats. So he's a knowledgeable guy. Also, we're going to have my man. He's written a lot of books. As a matter of fact, I have one of his latest ones here. Mark Allen Baker. He's an author, written over 30 books. He's part of my family now as Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductee. So is Mike Silver, actually. Mike and I got inducted the same year. But Mark Allen Baker is inducted this year. He was a 2026, so he's going to be joining us. He's also a guy that's a research fiend. So everything that he's written about, he's very well versed on the eras and everything else. So he's going to be part of it. Jack Hirsch, you might remember him most recently. He was he's the one that wrote the book with Michael Spinks. He was on this show. He's also used to be the president, I believe, of the Boxing Writers of America Association. He was also involved with the New York Boxing Hall of Fame. And he too is a historian, and he'll be part of the panel. Carl Weingarten. If you recall, Carl was on this show. He's the film specialist. He's the guy who is taking all these old films and he's collecting pieces and putting them together. He just put a documentary out that's on YouTube, he did those, and myself, and that's going to be our first roundtable, and we're going to do it, once a month or so, once every other month. And I'll have different people on. The topic is going to be an age-old topic. So when I tell you what it is right now, you're going to be like, oh, man, people talk about that all the time. But I promise you it's going to be a little different. And, first I'll tell you, the topic is going to be basically yesterday's fighters versus today's. Who's better, why, et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be introducing some curveballs to throw into the conversation that I believe, as much as a historian I am, and as much of a fan favorite of yesteryear's fighter, because, I mean, listen, who talks more about the history of boxing than we do on this show? You get me in a room talking about boxing, and I rattle stuff off sometimes that I because I read a book or something. All of a sudden the line pops in my head, But the truth of the matter is I have some things up my sleeve that I think I'm going to toss out there. That's going to be hard to argue, even though all I'm going to say is this: even though it may go against what I like, but facts are facts, and it's going to be fun, and we're going to do it, and we'll have other topics on other roundtables as we move forward. But in any event, hey, listen, boys and girls, I know today is a shorter show, but it is what it is. Hey, when there's not much to talk about, even I don't talk that much. But in any event, I'm looking forward to the new series. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. And I'll be looking forward to next week's show. So make sure you tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.